Just a quick heads up, if y'all don't want to hear all that background information, just skip to this time listed right here. March Madness, a term that dates back to 1939 when an athletic administrator by the name of Henry V. Porter, who went on to popularize the term in an essay he wrote about his team state championship win in Illinois, stating, "A little March Madness may complement and contribute to help keep society on an even keel." The term slowly made its way to the NCAA in 1982, and ironically, this is the same year a freshman by the name of Michael Jordan hit a game-winning shot to win a national championship against Georgetown. March Madness has brought us incredible moments, some happiness, and a whole lot of pain, plus a lot of broken brackets. The tournament is so unpredictable that you have a higher chance of winning the lottery, like literally. In honor of March Madness ending recently, I think it's best for us to talk about the best Cinderella stories from the past decade. Just a quick description: a Cinderella story is when a team greatly exceeds its NCAA tournament expectations. And with that, let's get into the video.
Timeout, they don't take it.
We're going to start with talking about the 2018 Loyola Ramblers. Before entering the tournament, Loyola beat Southern Illinois to clinch the outright MVC championship, and as a result, the Ramblers received a conference automatic bid into the NCAA tournament as the 11th seed in the South region, making it their first visit in the tournament since 1985. They start the tournament going against number 6 Miami, led by Lonnie Walker and Bruce Brown, who lost in the quarterfinals of the ACC championship heading into this. As per usual for a tournament game, this went down to the wire with Loyola and Miami going back and forth, with the biggest lead of the first half being 16-10 Loyola only 10 minutes into the game, and eventually tied back up with a buzzer beater at halftime. Later on, Miami comes out and takes a 7-point lead trying to pull away, but the Ramblers go on a 7-2 run to cut back into this game. But still, Miami was not letting them get too close, but within the last minutes, Cluster hits a bomb to tie it. Then Newton comes back with his own shot to put Miami back up. Later on, Towns gets sent to the line, misses the first, and cashes the second, causing Loyola to foul or make a big defensive play with 26 seconds left in the game. They chose defense and ended up getting the ball back, but they missed, forcing them to put Lonnie Walker, a 75% free throw shooter, at the line this time. He blew it, giving the Ramblers another chance, and this next play is a prime example of why they call it March Madness.
Here they come. One timeout, they don't take it.
Sensational.
Now let's move on to the next round. This round, Loyola is set up against number 3 Tennessee, with the most recognizable player on the team being the freshman Grant Williams. This game didn't start out too promising for the Ramblers, with Tennessee taking a 9-point lead within the first 5 minutes of the game. Then they slowly cut back into this game with some big buckets later on in the first half, and even taking a lead, being up 29-25 going into halftime. This lead helped motivate them after the break to try to take full control, with the big 3 by Cluster and another bomb by Ingram, causing Loyola to really pull away, even being up by 10 at some point. But come on guys, Tennessee came into this tournament being ranked 3rd for a reason, and it showed when they went for an 11-3 run in the last 3 minutes, scoring bucket after bucket after bucket. Then Grant Williams gets a big block to give Tennessee a chance to take the lead. Then Schofield missed, but they got another chance due to Loyola turning it over. And Grant Williams saves the day for Tennessee with a big and one, hitting a free throw and putting them up by 1. Then with 10.5 left, Clayton Cluster takes it and saves the day with a little lucky bounce, leaving 3.6 left. Fortunately for Loyola, Tennessee did not respond. Now on to the Sweet 16. Before this game, Sister Jean said a prayer with the team going into this Sweet 16 matchup facing Nevada, led by the Martin twins and Jordan Caroline. Just like the last game, it wasn't looking so well for Loyola, being down 12 early in the half, and at some point the defense looked questionable. Bro decided to become a cone mid-play. Not gonna lie, they still pulled back into this game, but some of these plays was wild. Look at this block, damn! But as always, they still stayed in it and even got a lead from this 3 by Towns going in the half. Coming out of half, they were standing on straight business, going up 36-28. Nevada eventually comes back, even tying at some point, leading Jackson and Martin going 3 for 3, and Caleb hit a big one, keeping Nevada close. Then with 14 seconds left, Cluster sets Towns up to make this a 2-score game, and he drains it, but Caleb was not letting go of this game that easily and comes back with his own 3. Sadly for him, that wasn't enough, and the Ramblers were going on to the Elite 8. This game versus Kansas State was a more even matchup ranking wise, but let me tell you, it did not look like that on the court. So we're definitely about to run through this real fast. So there was a little back and forth happening at the beginning of the game, bucket here, bucket there, and then Loyola just locked in, and well, I'll let the montage talk for itself.
Shift to Kansas State, turn the best defender for Kansas State, and the Williamson now going in. Williamson, ball return. Jackson, he's got it, looking for help, gets it. Williamson. In the corner, Richardson.
The best way to put it is Loyola had full control of this game, even with Kansas being down only like 10. The second half was pretty much the same way, with Loyola dominating their way to their first Final Four since 1963. That's like way back when Sister Jean was a middle-aged woman. But let's head into this Final Four matchup. Well guys, as you know, the fun has to eventually end, but it's not as bad as you think. And before, I'd like to mention a couple stars that were on this team. They had Mo Wagner, Duncan Robinson, and Jordan Poole, who just hit this historic shot earlier in the tournament. Back to the game though, Michigan took off with a little 12-4 lead early on in this one. Soon enough, Loyola slips into a lead, eventually going up 29-22 going into half, which at this point, it's every game. In the second half, they seem to be holding up strong, going shot for shot with Michigan and keeping a lead. But then the skyscraper known as Mo Wagner hits a 3 to take the lead, and it all falls down from there. They tried to keep up, but just look at this dunk by Matthews. Someone dunking like that with the lead they have, yeah, you're done. And they were, losing 69-57, ending their run in the Final Four. Now we'll be talking about Florida Gulf Coast, or better known as Dunk City, who entered the tournament as the 15th seed after beating Mercer in the Atlantic Sun tournament. Surprisingly, this was their second year of NCAA eligibility and also had a player make the Conference Player of the Year. Entering as the 15th seed, they had to face number 2 Georgetown with Otto Porter, who just smashed Syracuse to win the Big Ten championship. The game started pretty competitive and close, with both teams not trying to lose in the first round. Still surprisingly, Florida Gulf Coast was up ending the first half 24-22. They started the second half with a little light jam, and then the Eagles picked up momentum after this dunk by Murray. They really started to pull away when Thompson hit this 3, and the highlight reel continues from that point on. It had got to a point where they were up by 17, but this is March Madness, so you know Georgetown started pulling back. Later on, pulling this as close to 68-72, but with an opportunity for Georgetown to try and make this a one-score game, Starks misses a 3, and Florida Gulf Coast goes on to win 78-68, making it their first ever Division I tournament win. Heading into this game, Sherwin-Brown talked with the team for a little motivation, then hops into a meat fest and jumps around, but if it works, it works. San Diego State really didn't have anyone too crazy on the team, but there was this junior named Jamal Franklin who was a little bit tough. They said bro led the team in 4 categories. I'm not gonna lie, the game quality is atrocious, but bear with me, it's the early 2010s basketball, and just like normal, someone got his stick at the beginning of the game. But let me focus on the game. A little bit into the first half, they bring out a statistic about the 15th seed never making it to the Sweet 16, so in that case, the Eagles have a chance to make history if they win this game. But it was not looking easy. The first half was a real dogfight with no real big leads and no easy buckets. Also, Brown ended up having to sit out, but that didn't affect Florida Gulf Coast too much. San Diego pulled away a little towards halftime, going up 35-29, which didn't last too long because Fielder turned up and brought this back to a 1-point game going into halftime. The second half was pretty much following the same pattern of the first until about 6 minutes in, Florida Gulf Coast turned up and ran it up lay after lay after lay after lay, which gave them a small 6-point lead to help them try to win this, and not really looking affected by the loss of their star. But when he came back, he was still serving them buckets too, and they just started walking away with this one after finishing winning 81-71, making this the first ever 15 seed to make the Sweet 16. First and foremost, guys, we can now see the screen. Well, guys, unfortunately, Florida Gulf Coast is running up against a team that's just better than them, going against number 3 Florida. You would think by how I started talking about this game that they were getting their behind spanked, but they actually were up 15-4 at one point, looking like they were about to start another upset against Florida. But Florida started itching up, and next thing you know, they were tied at 24 with a minute left. And Florida ends up taking a 30-24 point lead by the end of the half. Opening the second half, it didn't look so great for Florida Gulf Coast, letting Florida get up by as much as 37-26. But momentum seemed like it shifted after this dunk. Sadly, it was not, and even with them still fighting to close this lead, they could only close the gap to no more than 8 points. Oh, and by the way, Joakim Noah was at this game, and his next clip is actually crazy.
Get a stop! No stop there. Another.
But all that still wasn't enough. Just look at the bench. Homeboy looks so lost, bro. And they went on to lose 62-50, and the run ended there. Now we're on to the next.
Seconds. O'Connell gets it off. And Michael O'Connell banks in a prayer to send this game to overtime.
The glass slipper was very fitting for this team right here. NC State, which was led by DJ Burns, who surprisingly was in the same recruiting class as Zion Williamson and even started his college career at Tennessee, but ended up at NC State for his final season being a 6-year senior. Anyways, prior to this season, they got bounced out the tournament by the number 6 seed Creighton, so this year they were hoping for a better outcome, and they went on to beat North Carolina to win the ACC tournament as the lowest seed to ever win it and make the NCAA tournament back-to-back years as the 11th seed. So they start the opening round going against Texas Tech, led by sophomore Pop Isaac. As I said with the last team we talked about, no one wants to be that team that loses in the first round, and DJ Burns was out here making statements with moves like this. I mean, he did say he watched Hakeem growing up, but I didn't know he was like that. Dang, now look at this spin too. Ooh. Back onto what I was saying, there was no real separation in the first half, with NC State leading 37-33. In the second half, they low-key started creating some separation, and then they just ran away with it after this bucket. DR and Burns started to take off, stretching this to a 15-point lead, and it was all she wrote after that, with NC State winning 80-67. Just to get started in this one, I want you guys to remember the names Trey Townsend and Jack Golke. They're going to be a big part of this game for Oakland. NC State came out quick to take a lead early in this one, with the quick bully ball moment too. Evidently, the lead broke down to 32-29 going into half though. In the second half, Trey Townsend starts going to work with back-to-back buckets. DJ Burns comes back with his own, but Trey was on a mission in this one, pulling them back into this game, and he even started pulling threes at some point. But this video is about NC State, so it's only right I talk about how Burns was still killing them. Honestly, Oakland really stayed in this game with Trey's buckets and this motherfucker Jack Golke, who was the epitome of a lethal fucking shooter. Even got a whole NIL deal off of it, bro. It's crazy. Just look at this shot, bro. Come on. And Townsend got them the lead, but they ended up going back and forth, eventually even going into overtime. For overtime, it was all NC State, and they ended up winning 79-73. Low-key, we gonna zoom through this game because nothing really happened in this one. It was a Casey and DJ Horn type of game anyway. I mean, just look at this bucket right here. Might as well let the show begin.
Junior from Indianapolis, Morcell drives in, fades away. Outside, Iguodara got a piece. Horn wide open look.
Nice pass again.
Burns. Team is scorching. Burns.
Passer.
Kick it. Diarra. Extra.
And that pretty much summarizes the whole first half, ending 37-24. Throughout this game, Marquette couldn't hit a shot to save their life. And NC State abused this. Marquette did bounce back though, getting within 6 from their 11-2 run. That didn't matter though, and NC State went on to clean this one up, winning 67-58. So I know all you guys are familiar with this year's Blue Devils, with their very popular freshman Jared McCain, who everybody hates because he paints his nails. Me personally, if it doesn't affect his game on the court, it doesn't matter. All around, this is a pretty solid Duke team that just knocked off Houston in the last round. To start this game, Burns was getting heavily involved in the offensive load, really working in the paint. It wasn't looking like enough though for them, with Duke not letting them even think about getting a lead during the first half. But tough shots like this one from Taylor helped them keep them in this game. Still not easy, finishing the half down 27-21. They opened up the second half still trailing through the first couple minutes, but a momentum shift happened after this bucket. No way this meatball just hit a skyhook, bro. Daria got involved too. Next thing you know, we're looking at an NC State lead for once. Burns went back to work too, and look at this one too. And it was the Wildcats game after that, and even with Jared's attempts to try to make something happen, it just wasn't enough. NC State went on to win this one 76-64. Jared cried a little bit too, and at the end of the day, Jared was only 2 days into college, dropping 32 points. And their season was over after that. Hey, DJ Burns said it best though. On to our last game. Going against Purdue, they had to face this giant known as Zach Edey, who was 7'4", 280 pounds, making DJ Burns look like a little kid. And he had been a problem all year in the NCAA, averaging 25 and 12 rebounds. For this game, I would love to say that it was competitive, but how competitive can a game be if at no point did NC State have a lead? Anyways, Purdue opened this game up with a 14-9 point lead midway through the first half, and Edey single-handedly rips this defense apart without even having the ball. This man genuinely could not be stopped this game. It was pretty much this way throughout the whole first half until the last 4 minutes. I'm talking bucket after bucket after bucket, having them down 29-35 going into halftime. Then the second half was the Purdue show with the occasional NC State score. Not that one, more like this. But it was starting to look bad, and it ended that way too, with them finishing losing 50-63. The road here was fun though, and guys, just remember, they were one missed shot away from not even being here. They opened up the second half still trailing though throughout the... Alright.